our way to Porto. We are going to Favaios. A little bit of history so that you can place Rosalia in the right context. After almost 8 centuries of monarchy spending too much money, the population was not happy. The instability came to a point that in 1926 we started dictatorship. At the beginning, Salazar was not a dictator, a very clever man. He became Minister of Finances, then the head of state. The only way to stay in power made the population behave. We had a secret police. Didn't know if your brother, your father belonged to that police. Really careful with the echo of your talk. Newspapers, the night before the printing, they would go and they would cut part of your word. When you read that without one word, an example, I don't like this hat. I like this hat. Now, World War II, Salizar was on German side, but the English told him, listen, if you are not with us, you are with our enemy. Also, Portugal had huge mines of tungsten, and he was selling to both sides of the war, made those finances just great. But then the other very dark side. In those days we didn't have healthcare system. 73% illiterated population. The monarchy left us poor, ignorant. We have a dictator that will keep us exactly the same way. It's hard to believe that someone loves Salazar. And it's not fake, it's true. Why? Because Rosalia, very big family, not having enough to eat. Somebody giving her a roof and food was a god. When you reduce people to their survival, and that's the case of Rosalia. Rosalia's story is not unique. Once she told me, tears in her eyes, you know, Katia, I was the youngest of 10 brothers and sisters. I never had love from my mom. Didn't have time to look at me. There, she found the roof, hot shower, food, whatever the price she had to pay for that. Yeah, well, Maria, she was a bit tough with her. Salazar was better for her for 48 years. Rosalia, as you can, humble woman. She will be working. She's not going to do a speech. She will answer your questions.
Olha, não se queima. Max.
Rosalia is not highly educated woman. It's the perception of what was happening in a totally different way, with the sweetest smile I've ever seen. Car mechanicer, calendar with Salazar, who is also porter of Salazar, and of course he knows that Favaios loves Salazar. Salazar didn't have a family, didn't have kid, wife. That lady was the last housekeeper of Salazar. Salazar passed away, she came back, and then she kept doing the same.
So this is her hometown.
This is her hometown, and this is the place, although she doesn't own the place, she rents it. She is, it's her own business. And she works with a kid.
Ela também era só 100 escudos por mês. E depois é que passou a saber 200, depois 300. Para o fim já ganhava 300.
Mas sem escudos, eu nem sei qual era.
Tem escudos? Era €1 agora.
People were not taught. My grandmother, no idea how to write even her name. See the time on a watch. Grandmama will tell you what time is it by the sun. My parents' generation studied 4th grade, but that's it. Church also played a very important role. Keep in mind that Salazar was seminary, so the church was one of the pillars of the dictatorship. We had the 3 F's policy: football, Fatima, and Fado. But there is a very important part of the story that I forgot to tell you. In the 60s, we had many different colonies, majority in Africa, and they asked for their independence. When Salazar refused, they fought for that. Angola, Mozambique killed our men. What happens is that, well, Salazar will die. There is another dictator. We were tired of that. On the 25th of April, 1974, what became known as the Carnation Revolution brings to an end the dictatorship. There were soldiers who came in the streets of Lisbon with their guns, and all of a sudden they found a lady that had carnation flowers on her hands. They took the carnation flowers, they were red, and they put those carnation flowers on their guns, saying, "We don't want to fight anymore." We were free. Porto started by the river, yet to expand up. There was no other option. On the other side of the river, called Gaia. It is most part of the wine cellars, a lot of restaurants in the Gaia area. The fisherman area, very little houses, a furada, fishing village. This area where we are right now, called Foz, the mouth of the river. The Douro ends here to the Atlantic. Reason for the existence of Porto. Typical Iberian Peninsula city, use a lot of granite construction. Fortress, the 1600s. The English settled this area, porting port wine to porting English textile. Could be the boats coming in and out. Here to the left hand side, oh, it's coming. You see here on the left hand side, the number 1. There's a lot of old people who are living in these old buildings. They've been kicked out for the owners of those apartments to get more money. They cleaned it, they restored, they rebuilt the buildings inside.
We're all living there, huh?
And now it's all Airbnb. It's very, very controversial here. The problem is in the old houses, they are being kicked away. After lunch, walking a little bit to the hotel. Try francesinha. One of the specialities of Porto. Maps of Porto for us. The most amazing train station that you will see in your lives. In the 19th century, the royal family believed that the church had too much power. They did the abolishment of the religious orders. Convents and the monasteries, they were empty. Monks, they were forced to leave. Nuns, they had the right to stay until the death of the last nun. Here to the sides, it used to be the customs, we still call it alfândega. You see, one belongs to Viking and the other one I don't know to whom belongs. To the one we cruise in the Douro Valley. With the contrast between the blue and white glaze tiles and yellow in this case, and the granite. This is something typical in Portugal, but with the granite here in Porto. See where we are, the train station, not only blue and white, any other tiles with any other color, they are still called azulejos. We have also very small plots. They do the vineyards around the tree. These were the boats in those days, came from the Douro Valley, bringing it to Porto. Port wine was one of the main resources of wealthy here in Porto. It's a city of traders. The only royal wedding that happened in Porto. In the center part, the king riding the horse. Behind is the head of the queen. They got married. The Cathedral of Porto. This couple, King John I and Philip of Lancaster. She was English. It's an alliance between Portugal and England, which was the first alliance in the world between two countries. And when we will step out, I will point you out the cathedral that still exists. Their son, Henry the Navigator, was born here in Porto. Period of the discoveries, officially with the conquest of Ceuta in 1415. Can you see a cross?
Yeah.
That is the cross of the Order of Christ, the Knight Templars Order, abolished by the Pope. In Portugal, we continue this Knight Templars Order, and the Order of Christ is the order that is going to sponsor the most part of the discoveries. Now, the Cathedral of Porto still exists, is behind this. Now we are going down. We are going to visit the Stock Exchange Palace, and then we will go to Ribera. We have our boat ride at 12. Now, the facade's covered with tiles. Above the doors is beautiful wood iron work. Watch out, there is a car coming.
Pues son de verdad.
If you are coming down just the way we are, you don't even get to see it. But I found interesting this decoration. Portuguese filigree, the real one you will find in real jewelry shop. You see these hearts, you can tell. You see this heart there in the middle, which looks like an embroidery. It is made, of course, or silver, gold plated, or gold, depend on what you want to buy and how much you want to spend. But this is the typical filigree. For instance, the ring that I have, this is also filigree. This is silver. I'm just pointing out so that you know what I'm talking about. The Misericordia of Porto, and this statue, they say, my blood is your blood. If you take a look, it's like a drop of blood dropping. This brotherhood, specifically the connection with poor people, and they do a great work. Of course, you cannot eradicate homeless people from the streets. They do absolutely a great job taking care of these people. Port Wine Institute that controls ports that we produce. We are not allowed to produce whatever. Very, very strict rule. It was before the cloister of the Church of St. Francis from the 13th century. How did the Stock Exchange Palace in what was the former cloister of the convent? The abolishment of the religious orders. They were empty. So what happened is that this was to become the Commercial Association of Porto, which is still today. This courtyard is square, the shape of the former cloister. It was covered, and so all around this cloister were established the main rooms, some of them open to the public. Keep in mind, we are closer to the river right now in this part of the city. City center is divided in two parts, the lower part and the old part, where we had lunch yesterday, and now an upper part closer to the train station. We needed a place to do all the commercial crimes, and what a better place than the Stock Exchange Palace. So this small court, in fact, above my head, you have justice waiting, lex, Latin, which means law, and justitia, justice. The two main pillars of the economy. On the left-hand side, industry. On the right-hand side, commerce, the main pillars of the economy in those days. Wine, the gold of those days, which were the grapes. Of course, justice. You see a scene of Peter I, medieval sense of justice. Seated in the throne, the bishop, politics and religion were too powerful together. A man reading the sentence to a man that is saying goodbye to his wife. Hanged, probably, we are in Middle Age. This court is one of the few parts in this palace it's not used anymore. This room is also a beautiful room, and this ceiling, this is stucco, of course, with gold. What you see, it is gold. Stucco behind the ink. They pretended that all the room was made of wood, much more comfortable. Beautiful, the chandelier. It is the romantic period where we'll bring the past into the present. Amazing room here. To make it perfect or imperfect, we did it like the Muslims will do, because only God is perfect. And there are some imperfections in this room. For instance, on the doors, they didn't make this aligned with this. They did it on purpose. You will see this in every single door. Only God is perfect, so there are some imperfections in this work. Um, dois, três, quatro, cinco, seis, sete, oito, nove, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm missing someone. Oh, Leslie. So now we are going down. To Ribera we have our boat ride at 12. After lunch, my idea to come up this area, and nearby the cathedral is the upper part of the bridge. Okay, so that we can walk. Six bridges, including some that are not working anymore, which is the case of the Eiffel Bridge. To see from here the metal structure built for the train, because it's a huge oscillation every time the train crossed the bridge. So they built a new one almost side by side. Was the side with more shade than Porto. So that's how Gaia will develop wine cellars, and then of course developed into a city, which is nowadays a big city, let me tell you. Tripas à moda do Porto, the origin of the name called Porto people, the tribe eaters. Because when Henry the Navigator left the population to give them food, everybody gave everything and kept the intestines. Till today we call them the intestines eaters. Alheira, that's what you had. When there was the expulsion of the Jews from Portugal, who stayed were new Christians, forced to be converted. They had to pretend that they were Christians. They could not eat pork meat. So Inquisition, getting into the houses of these new Christians and check if they were really living accordingly. They invented this sausage. It's all, how do you say, partridge? Oh. Garlic sausage. Yeah, because there is one part up there that is level. The solution to connect the two cities was this one. You remember the upper part of what you've seen yesterday walking down, because the stairs that I took you was here to the left-hand side of the bridge. there are things that I cannot translate to you. Kind of language that they were using, you can tell.
Is this a funicular on this side too?
This is a cable car. This 16th century, Porto traders, kind of a mafia. This together with what is happening with the church. During the Middle Age, people were got to believe through God we would explain everything that each of us needed. Convents and the monasteries, priests were teaching people the Bible. God was the center of the world. Then all of a sudden, the invention of printing brings the Bible. Slowly, slowly people say, all these people who finally realized that it was not exactly as we were told. How are we going to do that? The Reformation lost so many people. The Baroque style is the main tool to bring back all the dissidents. The church needed to recover. When we enter into this place, it's almost hard to believe that this is gold. Now it's around £660. Who paid for this? People from that super wealthy mafia will save me from all my sin. Look up here, above this arch. And you look at that and you spend more time. And that was the idea. By the moment, why is that so? Because if they talk from the pulpits to you, they will be closer to you. Psychologically, if you want to leave, you don't feel comfortable. They're talking into your eyes. There is always something behind. Art is a reflect of what we are living in that moment. This became so excessively decorated that nowadays this is not a church, this is a museum, because it was forbidden to celebrate any mass here. Ironic is that Saint Francis, he was as simple as you can imagine, was a man who left all his belongings, his own church, full of gold everywhere, full of everything that he gave up himself. The political and financial part with orange on your map, seasonal statue of Peter the Fourth, they ran away to Brazil from the Bolivia. The royal family left Portugal who was forced to come back. What you are seeing are the old students which dressed in black, and the other ones seated down there, they are freshmen. Men and women wear the traditional uniform, not mandatory. A sign of a certain status because only the elder students can wear that.
You have to put your symbols to the front, turn, fold it one time in honor of your university and the number of years that you have been studying. You will put it on your shoulders and you cross it. And now you are kind of a Portuguese ninja. Kind of represent who you are and where you stand inside the academic community. They are pretty random. Everyone has one from the country, the city, university. They cannot be bought by you. They have to be offered or they have to be earned. Only here in this city we have 3 laureates that won that Oscar, so it's a pretty big thing, architecture here. That's why we don't have jobs, because everyone started to go to architecture because they realized, well, architecture is a Portuguese thing, you know, let's go to architecture. And then they realized it's not that easy.
to or Alex?
There aren't that many who relate. There's a certain breed that just loves seeing what's on the other side of the mountain and really enjoy it. And this is a group that'll never quit seeking the other side of the mountain. They just love meeting other people, experiencing other things.